it's your meeting and we're at 6:31 if you'd like to call the meeting to order.
Yes, we can call the meeting to order. Looks like everyone's here. And Ms. Brenda?
Thank you. I'll
Ready to go?
start with roll call. So President Alvarado is not here. We'll start with Vice President Seta.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Weiner.
Here.
Director Stanley.
Yes.
Thank you. And Director Cepeda.
Here.
Thank you. There is a quorum, Madam Vice President.
Yes, we can continue.
Next item is Pledge of Allegiance.
If they so please, I take a moment of silence. So if the rest of you would like, you can go ahead. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item number 2, that is approval of the agenda. This is the time for any board member to request that an item on tonight's agenda be postponed, removed, or heard out of order, including pulling consent agenda items to be heard on the action calendar.
Hello, directors. What say you? Have you
I'll
had
make a
chance?
motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, here you have a question.
No, I would like to pull an item, but you can make your motion first and I'll pull it before then, after that.
Oh, go for it. If you want to pull it, and then I can just have the agenda approved with the motion, with that pulled.
Okay, I would like to pull item 4B in order to discuss alternative 2 and have it, and I'd like the item added to action, I guess.
So you'd like 4B from the consent calendar pulled. Okay.
Yeah, 4B.
So Ms. Brenda, we're going to pull 4B.
Okay.
And Director Stanley or Director Cepeda? Anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is, with the exception of the item Director Reno wants to pull.
Second.
So we have a motion that's been moved and properly seconded. May we take the roll, please?
Thank you, Vice President Seta.
Yes.
Director Weiner.
Yes.
Director Stanley.
Yes.
And Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is public comment, items not on the agenda. Madam Vice President, I do not have any public comments.
Okay, it's good. Then we don't have to read this long paragraph.
Thank
We
you.
can
Next
move on. Thank you.
calendar. 4A, approve the regular board meeting minutes of September 16, 2020, the special board meeting minutes of September 16, 2020, and September 24th, 2020.
I'm sorry, we're on consent agenda, so therefore I would just ask for a motion approving items 4A, C, and D on the consent.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion that's being moved by Director Weiner and seconded by Director Cepeda. May we please take a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Vice President Seta.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Director Weiner.
Yes, please.
Director Stanley.
Yes.
And Director Cepeda.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is the action calendar, and we moved item 4B to the action calendar. So we will hear that item, and that is authorize the general manager to execute an amendment to the agreement with Cascade Integration and Development in the amount of $25,978 for a total not to exceed $108,132 for temporary effluent pump SCADA integration.
Okay. And Justin, you're going to tell us about this?
So we don't have a formal presentation, but I can pass it over to Aaron Weiner. He can discuss a little briefly about what this item is about, and then we can take it.
Okay.
Good evening.
Aaron.
Good evening, board members, Vice President Sadef. So what we have here is we came to you several months ago. I believe it was in early August, basically earlier than that, but making you aware that we needed that our effluent pump system was failing and that we had 3 pumps out of 5 that were no longer operable. So basically what we had to do and what you've approved is a rental pump system, which we are essentially finished installing at the treatment plant. And this allows us to pump effluent out of the treatment plant. Without the system and the 3 pumps that failed previously, we would not be able to keep up with the flows through the plant during especially wet weather. So the integration of the SCADA or of the effluent pumps by Cascade Integration was not something that we envisioned when we talked about the project several months ago, because we were basically working with incomplete information. And so to summarize, we don't have a SCADA integrator employed by the district. So whenever we have a project such as this effluent pump station, there was a bypass project a year ago. There's been a recent SCADA upgrade project that we've come to you and you've approved. We have to use Cascade Integration to do that work. So really that's the framework that we're in right now. And so when we came to you several months ago, you approved a total of $554,000 for this whole pump project in 6 months. And so the dollars for Cascade Integration are captured in money that's already approved for this project. So that's the long and short of it, and I'm happy to answer any questions and talk about the alternatives, although those would need to be down the road.
Okay. So Director Weiner, since you pulled this, I will let you start. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I'm sure it's like very wise what you're saying, because we can't hear you.
Oh, you guys missed a perfect little speech.
I know it was wise. You were like really getting into it.
Yeah, I can't even recreate it, so you'll just have to put up with what I come up with now. As I understand it, the integration, you offered us 3 alternatives to hiring the firm you recommend to do this one-time integration. And alternative 2 was to have a SCADA integrator be a district employee. And so the question I had was, I thought there was an employee, I can't remember his last name, Cecil, and I thought he was doing the SCADA updates, software updates and maintenance and stuff like that. And I know he's no longer with the district, but I was wondering if that position would be the place where this permanent SCADA technician could be assigned.
I can start with that, Aaron.
Sure.
So that previous position that you're referring to, Cecil, he worked really with our collection system, infrastructure, and planning department, and with the GIS software. As far as we're aware, he did not do any work specifically related to the SCADA system down at the plant. And so if there was a person who would be doing SCADA integration, that would be somebody who would be working at the plant.
So so we don't have the position defined at this point?
That is correct. We do not have a position that we could go and hire that would be able to complete the work that we need done as part of this this item tonight.
Yeah. So does the SCADA require maintenance updates, and how do they get done now?
As Aaron, I'll get it off to you since you're more involved with the SCADA system.
Yes. So the SCADA system, I don't know how much folks know about the system, but I'll give you the short version to the extent that I can. So SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. And basically, it is a software program that sits in the control center, the operations control center. And it's linked through all kinds of the network out to all the different areas in the plant. And it looks at tank levels, it looks at temperatures, it looks at pHs, it looks at what equipment, motors, and things are running, and allows us to control all of that through a human-machine interface at the operations center. And so there's all kinds of things you can do with the SCADA system, and it continually needs to be tweaked, either upgraded, with the software, or there are set point changes and just things that we want to do operationally to change how it functions in terms of allowing us to control the treatment plant. So again, I hope that somehow clarifies it for you, Director Weiner.
Oh, no, I understood. I understood what the SCADA system does and how it operates in general. My question really was, I'm very familiar with software installations, maintenance, upgrades, and they all take time, and they're always necessary. Probably once a year, twice a year, the firm that supports that system will come up with an upgrade, and then you have your failures of the sensors, and you have new sensors that you buy that aren't integrated with the software that SCADA has, but SCADA would have a driver to accommodate that new piece of software, stuff like that. And so I was wondering if there already is a person.
There is not.
Does
we have relied on a vendor, an outside consultant to do our SCADA work. Historically, that's been our model.
And so in your opinion, I was trying to get at, is there enough work to have an in-house person do that, and possibly other duties around specific software that's used at the plant?
Typically the way it works, and in the model I've worked with before and I think is effective, is that you have a position. There isn't typically enough work for one person to just do SCADA and focus on SCADA. So you would have somebody that does SCADA, instrumentation, light electrical, that type of thing, and even some maintenance. So a person who has, the SCADA piece as his experience and background, who does other things as well.
And so would that be a benefit that was offered as something that would require some investigation and planning, but could be used to integrate more things, and there would be a need in the future to do it, and we have the need now to integrate. And so I'm trying to get at how practical amendment 2, or what do you call it? Alternative 2 would be, because in-house employees, I think, are my preference in general, but there's nuance. So I'm bringing it up.
Do you want to answer? Do you want to take
Yeah.
a crack at that one, Justin?
Yeah, I'll start on that. It is something that we can explore. It will take a significant amount of time just to determine whether that's the right direction for the department. As Aaron said, that there's not enough work for a person to be working on SCADA systems the full time. So finding that right candidate could be very challenging for us. We may have to, if we found somebody who worked internally, we'd have to train them. And so there's trade-offs involved, and we'd have to look at it for the long term if that was in the best interest for the operations of the treatment plant. So I can't commit to it right now whether that's the best, the best option for us, so we just don't have that answer at this time.
Would it be fair to say that it would be something that we couldn't start implementing with this contract, so we should go with the non-alternative but the actual recommendation?
Yeah, that would be fair to say. For the immediate need to get this this integration done for right now, ready for the wet weather, would be important.
All right, thank you. So I'll move that we accept item 4B with staff recommendation.
Before that, Ms. Chair, may I ask a question?
Absolutely, Director Zabeda.
So thank you, Director Reno, thank you for pulling that item. Is there, and I'm not sure this question is for Justin and Aaron, but is there a way that we can do a hybrid? Being able to move forward with the current recommendation, but also being able to go with option 2 as a long-term means. So moving forward with what you recommend now, because we need it, right? The rainy season hopefully will be coming soon. And it's a need that we know we have, but planning for the future, right? As our tagline says. So embracing the future by planning today. Can we, as we look to hire in the future or in a couple of months or starting to train, maybe we promote somebody, start looking at somebody that can have this training as we put this system together now? Is that a possibility?
It would take us some time. I think the immediate direction, if that was the direction of the board, would be to review all our job descriptions, our job specifications, to see if that is included in any of them. If it's not, then we would essentially have to create a new job classification and do a salary survey, talk with the union, and then see how it would fit, and then come back to the board at a later date if that was even feasible. So we don't know if that's feasible for us right now. It would take some time, several months to get there.
When do you see this coming back to the board? Again, I'm not sure how often we update this. The what is it called? The Cascada. I'm not sure how often do we do this. Is it every couple of years that we have to think about it? Is it every year? Is it every 10 years?
Well,
Like
they typically do work on a yearly basis. I don't know how frequently they're there, Aaron, but it is, there is some maintenance that they come on a yearly basis, which is significantly less than what one full-time position would cost. The amount of typical maintenance that they would do at the plants.
Okay. Would it save us later on? I mean, if this agenda item comes back again next year, we have the same conversation, and it comes back the year after that, and we have the same conversation with the same options. Does it make sense, again, to move forward with the recommendation now, but a quick amendment to, again, maybe looking at a position in the future to move into this on a part-time basis, because we don't need it the whole time?
That's something to look into. But yes,
you don't need to vote on it, but you could just ask staff at this time you could just direct staff to look into it, and then we can move forward on this agenda item, and then we would note for the record that you had requested or directed staff to investigate that. Would that be acceptable?
Perfect. That is perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Collins, and thank you, Justin and Aaron. No further questions. Thank you so much. If the motion still stands. I'll second it.
Thank you very much. The motion's been made and properly seconded. Director Stanley, is there more discussion?
I just wanted to suggest that we definitely move the question that Director Weiner and Director Cepeda were talking about to a future agenda item as far as exploring all options and training and whatever we and tell us the full picture of whether or not we need somebody or if it's just better going with outside contractors.
Okay, so let me just make a suggestion as a point of order. Why don't we just hold that until future agenda items and one of you bring it up at that point and we can remind them at that point. And we can, I think it's a good idea, and let's just bring it up then. I think it's a good point. Okay, so the motion's been made and properly seconded, made by Director Weiner and seconded by Director Cepeda. Can we take a roll call vote, por favor?
Thank you. Vice President Suddeth?
Yes.
Director Weiner?
Yes.
Director Stanley?
Yes.
Thank you. And Director Cepeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item is item 6, information reports.
There are no information reports.
One of my favorite sentences.
Thank you. Next item is item 7A, matters from staff, general manager, general counsel comments and communication reports on issues or matters pertaining to the overall operations of the district.
So we have no items from staff or from the general manager at this point. Our
You
attorney has any.
And I have no items.
Boy, just making us all giddy over here. Brenda.
Thank you. Next item is item 8A, meeting reports. Reports on committee activities, conferences, seminars, and meetings pertaining to the overall operations of the district.
Okay, so fellow directors, let's mix it up a little bit. Director Cepeda, you have anything?
Perfect. Nothing really to report. I've attended a couple of meetings, but nothing to report back at this time. Thank you.
Sir. Director Stanley.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Weiner.
I have no reports.
Well, we're just zooming through these, aren't we? And I'm just going to follow suit. Nothing to. Ms. Brenda, we're just going to let you do all the talking tonight.
Thank you. Next agenda item 8B, good of the order. Report on events and activities which may be of interest to members of the board and community members.
Reverse it. Director Weiner.
Vote, vote,
Yes.
and vote again. No, vote.
Director Stanley.
Vote. No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Cepeda.
I echo Director Weiner's sentiment to make sure you go and vote, but only vote once. You can't vote that many times, Director Weiner. Only want to make it count, make it good. And also make sure that you...
They don't know the rules of the Democratic Party clubs. You can vote.
Vote often, yes. Now make sure that you go out and also help clean up the environment for anybody that's out there. It is Coastal Cleanup Month. Instead of a day, they ended up doing the whole month. So anybody go out there and help do your part in cleaning up our creeks and our parks and marshes, etc. But other than that, have a good day and go and vote.
And I will say it so that you don't get tired of hearing it in English. I will say vota in Spanish. And I will say take someone or help someone else vote in case they need it. Help them. It is also Domestic Violence Prevention Month. So whatever you can do, reach out, help people. It's mental health awareness and we're wrapping up that month. But it's also National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We call it NEDM. And so we are doing whatever we can to make awareness for hiring and employing people with significant disabilities. And lastly, especially when it comes to voting, yeah, you can only vote once, Harry, but if you see something, say something. The reason that someone was caught lighting a, what do you call the box that you put your votes in, was because someone saw it and reported it. So if you see something nefarious, say something. And we do need poll watchers. So if you know somebody, make sure they're out there and protecting everyone's right to vote. Easy for me. Here comes the next one, Ms. Brenda.
Thank you. Item 8C is the next agenda item. That's future agenda items.
Here we go. So, Sir Director Weiner,
Oh, no,
you
this
want to
one,
bring now?
the Director Stanley's.
Either one of you. You want to bring these up about what we just discussed about the position you were talking about? We want to
Yes,
put this
I would like
formal, give some formal direction on this one?
Director Stanley, not ready to do it?
Or either one.
Oh, well,
Director Stanley, Director Weiner, whoever wants to give.
well, I'm sorry. I thought it was your thing, Harry. I wasn't going to step on your toes.
Oh, no, I'll make it my thing.
Okay,
Just
let's
to
talk
get
about it.
just
Director
to
Weiner,
get
go
this
ahead.
meeting moving along, I will definitely make it my thing. And I would like to suggest that staff look into the idea of a position or an amendment to a position and what it would take to get a person on staff to maintain and upgrade SCADA and whatever other small electrical or whatever Mr. Weiner suggested that is often done as part of that position, and bring it back to the board when and if that work has been checked into.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
You can't, it's not a motion.
So the future agenda items, the board must approve by a majority vote a motion for the proposed item to appear on the future meeting agenda. So we want that on a future agenda item. It's got to be motion, second, and approved by a majority of the vote.
It's got to be properly moved. And so he's.
Right, but it doesn't require a second?
Yeah, because it's got to be a motion.
It's got to be a motion. It's got to be a proper motion. And
But it
so,
wasn't recognized. So that's
so you're
why.
moving it, and my understanding is that this may be that the staff is going to look into what kind of position it will be. It may not be full-time, it may be part-time, but they're going to do the research, and that's what your request is, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
that the
So
report,
it has been moved. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
and that the report appear as an agenda item when it's been formalized. But I need some clarification from maybe perhaps Claire Collins. A future agenda item is proposed, and if there's no objection, does there need to be a vote?
Yeah, under our rules, yes, and that's what it states on our agenda, is that there has to be a vote. The other thing you could do, as opposed to requesting an agenda item, is just to request, just direct staff to look into it, and then they can bring it back when they have more information. So there's sort of the more formal aspect of it, which is to place it on a future agenda, let's say in the next 6 months, or you can just direct staff to look into it, and then there will be, there's not necessarily sort of a report back deadline. It's something that they're looking into. And I think with respect to staff and personnel items, it's your discretion. But I think based on what Mr. Lovell was saying, it's part of a longer term review of personnel.
So point of clarification, if I may.
Yes.
And just a little bit of background on how we got to have this particular motion and process in this agenda, and also for Claire's history education here on the board. We did that because the staff was getting a lot of direction from board members without the full board actually opining on it. So we wanted to make sure that everything flowed through the board if it indeed was a board need or want. So as opposed to just me haphazardly saying, hey, Justin, tell me how much it's going to cost to paint all the cars purple. And then Justin running around doing it because I told him so. Instead, we wanted to come to the board. And if the board wants to look into making all the cars purple, then it becomes a motion. Otherwise, staff was spending time that led to nowhere because the board really didn't need to see those reports and know that information. So that's why we put that in the board policy. We adopted that a couple of months ago so that we wouldn't just give staff direction ad hoc without a full motion of the board.
Yeah, my question, I guess, is to, I'm gun shy because of a Brown Act violation whereby we made a motion and discussed the getting of the item on the agenda, and it was judged to be it would have had to be on the agenda to discuss it. So we couldn't make a motion on the item. So I'm asking if the process to get something on the agenda, as we're trying to do now, does it require a vote? You say yes. Does it require a motion? Or does the mere introduction of the idea count and then everybody votes yea or nay? Or does it have to have a motion and a vote and a roll call vote, etc.? So that's the clarification I'm after.
Sure, let me help. So one of the exceptions to the Brown Act with respect to only discussing agendized items is that the board may direct staff to place something on a future agenda. And the rules of the board adopted require a motion, a second, and a roll call vote.
Okay, fine.
So it is an exception to the Brown Act, and based on the policies that were adopted, as Director Cepeda said, in our Board of Directors meetings and procedures policy, and I'll just state for the record, it's section 5.4 of that policy, that that a motion, second, and roll call vote is required to place it on a future agenda.
So has a motion been made?
Yes, you made it.
Yes. Yes, sir.
And I second it.
Okay.
Yes. So, is there any more discussion, or can we vote now?
Are we only voting on this one thing? Or are we putting forth a bunch of agenda?
Well, let's vote on
things?
this one. Let's vote on this one, and then if you have another one, we can vote on that. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So, Ms. Brinda, the motion's been made and properly seconded, made by Director Weiner and seconded by Director Cepeda. So may we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Vice President Setta?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Director Weiner?
Yes?
Director Stanley?
Yes.
And Director Cepeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So, all right. Do we have additional agenda, future agenda items?
I do.
Okay, Director Stanley, what would you like?
I would just like two things. An update, and this should be pretty easy. We have the maintenance contract for the storm control pumps. I don't know what they're called over in North Richmond. And last winter, I think they were down to one pump. And I would just like an update as to has the county supervisors have plans? Are they going to install more pumps? Because my understanding when I looked into this last winter was there was a total of 3 or 4 pumps. They're down to their last pump, and the last pump, it's so old that it can't be repaired anymore. It needs to be replaced. And I'd just like to have an update since we're going into the wet weather season, what the county is doing That's number one. That's my motion.
Okay, so that would be an informational report, correct, Ms.
Yes.
Claire?
That's
All right.
correct.
Ms. Claire? So that would be an informational report, right?
Yes, a report back on an information report.
Okay, so we have a motion for an informational report on those pumps. I believe this is the Richmond, I think it's at a lift station, correct? Yes.
No, they have a storm control something, a building or something that has several pumps. Aaron, you know what I'm talking.
He's on now. He's going to speak. Go
Yes,
ahead, sir.
I have been listening. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I don't know the name of the pump station, but it's literally, if you come out of the treatment plant site, you take a right on the Parkway going back towards Point Richmond. Right before the split there, there's a block building on the right, and we operate that for the county. And absolutely, we can bring back a report. I do know what's going on there, so happy to do that.
Okay. So we have a motion, and we have a second.
I've seconded it.
Director Weiner has second Director Stanley's motion. Do you have any more discussion on it? Great. So Ms. Brenda, may we please take a roll call vote?
Thank you. Vice President Sutton?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Director Weiner?
Yep.
Director Stanley?
Yes.
And Director Cepeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And Director Stanley, you had another one?
Yes. This is my second and last one. I think I brought this up before at a global warming committee, and but I'm bringing it up here because I want a more fleshed out answer. Since power outages are going to be part of our future, I want to know how much it would take, if it's feasible, whatever there is to know about putting up backup battery storage at where our lift stations are and at the plant. Because my gut feeling is, and I of course don't know what I'm talking about, is I would always like to have 2 or 3 days worth of power at the plant and be able to generate more if we're in a long-term power outage. That's my pie in the sky goal, but I don't know how feasible or what it would take money-wise or time-wise, and I would like to have a larger, fleshed-out answer so that the whole board would be aware of that answer. So that's my motion.
Your motion is to have a backup power, what it would take to have backup power source?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
I just want to be clear. So backup power, what it would take to have a backup power source in the case of an emergency, right?
Yeah, at the plant and at our lift stations.
At the plant and at the lift stations, you would like to know what it would take to have backup power source at the plant and at the lift stations in the case of an emergency. Okay.
Yes.
I think I can have it. But
Yeah.
Director Weiner, you had a question.
Yes. Sherry, were you talking specifically about battery backup?
Well, okay. I am remembering when Miss Cheryl, Vice President Senate, said last year, I think, that she had all the solar power panels, but she didn't have backup. And so it didn't do her any good during the power outage. So that has remained with me. And so I want some sort of power backup, whatever that is, whether it's batteries or wall or whatever, to make sure that our plant, if there's an emergency or if there's these rolling power outages, that our plant and or our lift stations can be powered. And if it's, you know, it's possible the technology is not there, it's possible it's too cost prohibited, I don't know, but I would like a more detailed answer. And maybe NG's the ones to give it to us, I don't know, but that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Can I, Vice President Suddeth, may I just
Sure, it was the
briefly-
generators. I know we have generators, but I think she wanted something else other than this. But yes, Sir Justin.
Yes, I did just want to clarify. I mean, I know Aaron can speak a little bit more to how many lift stations do have backup generators, and what, you know, the capacity is. I know that there tend to be diesel fuel generators that provide electricity in the case of power outages. I know not all of them do have that. Just to get clarification, yeah, if this is something that we want to go back, was it more, because it would take significant effort and probably consultant work to get to that level of detail about what it would take to have that kind of capacity at all. At all the lift stations, I just do want to make sure that we're clear on what you're asking of staff, because there could be a cost involved.
Okay, so here's the deal. If the Hayward fault goes, and it's predicted that it will sometime in the next 30, 40 years, and all our streets are broken up, but somehow or other we can keep our treatment plant going, we're not going to get diesel to the plant. So do we have a way of producing enough power ourselves to keep our plant doing what it needs to do? And if there's rolling power outages like there is predicted to be for the time being, do we have enough besides diesel generators to provide power?
Can I make a suggestion here that perhaps something that might provide a solution here is just to request an information item to come back to the board in connection with the district's emergency preparedness plans, which would cover issues related to power backup. And if that would be acceptable, that's something that may be an information item that could answer some of these questions.
That would be great. So I would adjust my request to get an emergency. What did you say?
Emergency preparedness plans.
Yes, I think we want an update, because they did give us the emergency preparedness plan, so maybe an update to it would be appropriate, because we did have a presentation on the emergency preparedness plan, so maybe an update may be in order, right? Is that what you're seeking, Director Stanley?
Yeah, I want to make sure that, short-term power outages and long-term, oh my God, there's an earthquake.
Sure.
What is the plan? I just want to know what that is.
Okay. Sir Justin and Sir Aaron, do you and Sir Michael, do you guys have what she needs? I think you guys understand what she needs, or what she's asking about.
Yeah, I do believe what Director Stanley is asking about, and I think what Ms. Collins is asking about is, can it help clarify us and put us in a direction without going too far in one direction? We can provide the information that Director Stanley is looking for about what we currently do and what plans we have in place. I think that is clear enough for us for now.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor from Director Stanley. We still need a second.
Second.
Okay, Director Wiener has seconded the motion. So we have a motion that's been properly made and seconded. Do we have a roll call vote, Ms. Brenda?
Absolutely. Vice President Suddeth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Director Wiener?
Yes.
Director Stanley?
Yeah.
Thank you. And Director Cepeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And Director Stanley, was that it, or did you have more?
No, I'm done. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Director Cepeda, did you have anything?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Director Wiener, did you have anything else?
I do not.
Great, thank you. And I did not have anything. And I believe We are at the point where everybody likes. Miss Brenda, you get to say our favorite words.
Right, agenda, final agenda item 9, adjournment.
Look at what time it is. Yay, thank you so much.
Perfect.
Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Everybody.
Thank you.